Hi guys, and welcome to Tahdiglover Live Kitchen. This is our first episode. We're really happy to have you here. We're going to be cooking some delicious food and of course making some delicious tahdig. So the idea of this show came from Sahar making the page Tahdiglover on Instagram so that all people who love food, particularly Iranian food, can be under one roof, sharing their recipes as kind of like a hub. And we're going to make these shows often and share them with you guys so you guys can learn these recipes, cook with us from home. And we have Jessica and Ali here with us. So Jessica is from SW3, as you might know her from Instagram already. Her Instagram is at sw3kitchen. She makes loads of delicious food from her kitchen, shares it with us. And Ali is a successful owner of two fantastic restaurants, Cotta and Galleria in Marylebone. He's also a baker. So let's head over to Ali. How are you today, Ali?
Hi, everyone. I'm very good. Nervous.
Me too.
Very nervous.
How have you been during this whole pandemic and everything? How's it been for you? What's been going on?
A mixture of relaxing, boredom, family time, and now stress because the businesses are opening, so it's all the rush.
Yeah,
and
of course.
when you're not used to it anymore, it's very hard to wake up 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, finish at 2 in the morning. So it's just been very hectic for the past few days.
And your restaurants have been helping the NHS a lot, haven't they? So
yeah, so right from the start, we got lucky and we had some connection through Kahrizak and many other Persian fundraisers, and they're working with us to help NHS. So we've been supplying food to them once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week to all around London, basically.
Oh, that's amazing, honestly. So, Ali, you're going to be doing starter and dessert today. Run me through what you're going to be making for starters first.
Yeah, so we're going to work in reverse because starter needs to set up. We're making a panna cotta with a hint of cardamom, rose water. So it's got a Persian flavor, even though it's not a Persian dessert.
Yummy.
Yeah. And for starter, it's a very non-Persian theme, but it's something that I like. It's very basic. It's a gluten-free halloumi base. I call it pizza, but we're not going to make it as a pizza. We're going to make it as a bite size, so it's a starter.
That sounds delicious.
So yeah. Thank you.
Right, so should we head over to Jessica? Jessica, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. I'm also a little bit nervous. I've never cooked live before, but it's great to give it a go. So hopefully nothing goes wrong today.
No, I'm sure it's all going to be great. So what have you been up to during everything going on? Have you been cooking a lot?
Yeah, so for me, I'm fortunate enough that with my job, I'm able to keep working. So I work in finance from 9 to 5. So although I'm working from home, so it's a bit different, I've still been able to work. But yes, being at home means whilst I'm doing my emails, I could put on some bread to prove or roast some aubergine to make a dip from. So I've definitely been cooking more. And obviously, I'm usually a massive foodie in the sense of going to restaurants, and although I've been doing some deliveries to support restaurants, we're obviously at home a lot more. So the only downside though is I just find that not only am I cooking, I'm washing up all the time. So I've got super dry hands like everybody else, but I mean I'm very lucky, so it could be worse.
Yeah, it's great. So what are you going to be making for us today?
So today I'm going to be making a traditional Persian stew with a slight twist. So I'm sorry for my pronunciation. I don't speak Farsi. I'm half Danish, half British, just to put that out there. But I'm going to be making khoresh, Bademjoon. I don't know how that went. But essentially it's, for those that aren't aware, although I'm sure many of you are, it's a stew which is a tomato-based sauce with split peas and aubergine. And usually you would have this with meat. So as far as I'm aware, gaymer kind of means like small pieces in Persian. And that would really reference the meat, but I'm actually going to make it vegetarian today. But I will explain as I go along, like where you could add meat if you were going to add meat. And then to go alongside that, I'm going to make some Persian style rice with a crispy tahdig. Because obviously it's the Tahdig Live Kitchen. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Jessica. We'll come back to you guys soon and see what you're up to. In the meantime, since we're in spring and we're approaching summer, I'm going to make a delicious cocktail, which is quite Iranian inspired. I have made up this cocktail, so let's see how it goes. Right, I'm going to start with putting some ice in, of course.
Do you have a name for the cocktail? Have you named it? Is there a name for the cocktail?
Do you know what? There isn't. Why don't we just call it so this drink really reminds me of a drink that you have when you go to Iran, and it's called sharbat, and it's very similar to like a cordial or a squash, and it really reminds me, the taste really reminds me of that. So I'm gonna call it an alcoholic sharbat. Maybe we'll come up with a better name.
Okay, yeah, let's see what goes in it.
So we're gonna start with a shot of tequila.
20 minutes.
I'm using the Sierra Silver tequila. You can use any tequila you like. I'm going to be using one shot for filming purposes, but you can put in as many shots as you wish. So we're going to add that in. Then we're going to add a shot of rose water. So you can get these from a lot of places. They're I think most Iranian households have a rose water or gulab. This is from Yekoyek, which you can get in any Iranian supermarkets or corner shops. I'm going to add
Can I just want to say, you can also now get rose water at Waitrose. I have found it there, but it's a bit overpriced. Really? But they do have it, yeah.
There you go. So you can get it at Waitrose. You don't need to go to your nearest Iranian shop for that. Then I have got sour cherry juice, which is the main flavour of this drink. In Iranian, this is just al-balu. And again, this is from the Iranian shop. I don't think you'll be able to find sour cherry juice at many other stores except the Iranian shops. So just pour in a few gloves of that. Depends on how sour you want the drink. Then we're gonna pop in some tonic water. You can add lemonade, you can add soda water, whatever you prefer. Literally just a little dash to add a bit of fizz. Guys, while you're watching, please tell us where you're from, where you're watching from in the comments on the side. We'd love to see where you guys are watching from, and let us know what you think. Are there any variations to the food that Jessica's making that you might make? Like, for example, my mum, her like most well-known dish, any dinner party, is khoresh Bademjoon, which is the food Jessica's making, but instead she normally makes it with chicken or I think lamb and no lentils. So let us know what you guys are cooking. We're reading the comments for seeing. So then just give your cocktail a shake.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at shaking cocktails. I always manage to get them everywhere. I don't even know how that's possible.
It's a good thing you're wearing pink.
Yeah, exactly. I'm using a martini glass. You can use a highball glass, whatever you prefer. I'm going to pour that in.
Yeah.
And then I'm also going to add frozen sour cherry pulp. Now, if you have frozen sour cherries that aren't pulp, whatever you have, it all works. It all works very well. So just open it up, if I can open it up, and take a scoop out of your pulp, or add a few of the sour cherries, whatever you might have. And add that in the drink. Just for a bit of extra ice and flavour. And your cocktail is ready. Cheers.
Yum. That looks delicious.
I wish you had been drinking this with me.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to make it. If I can get some of the sour cherry juice, which is what I was going to ask. If you couldn't get hold of that, could you use pomegranate juice instead?
You could easily use pomegranate juice. And if you can't get hold of pomegranate juice, what you could do is get like pomegranate molasses maybe and mix that with like water. So only put a tiny bit, less juice, more tonic water. But honestly, anyone who has been to Iran or has tasted sharbat, this tastes just like sharbat. And if you haven't been to Iran and tasted it, then literally make this and you have it at home.
I'd love to try that. I just thought as well what you could do, because it's like a bit like a play on a margarita because of the tequila. You could mix some salt with some sumac and dip the tip of the glass in. That would be really cool, right?
Next time, after quarantine's over, we'll make these together and we'll do the little rims. So Jessica, where are you at right now with your cooking? What's going on?
So with this stew, it's actually very basic in terms of the skills you need. It is an easy one to make. And actually, I would say a lot of Persian food is easy. It's just there's a few steps which put some people off. So with most of the stews that you'll find that contain aubergine, you fry the aubergine first. So what you want it to look like before we put it in the stew is, if you look here, there's some I did earlier, like a golden color to the aubergine. I know it looks a bit limp and strange right now, but this is how you make it really delicious and soft. So that's one aubergine that I've cut into 8 pieces and I fried before like 10 minutes ago. But I am going to cook some now as well. So this aubergine was slightly smaller, so I've only cut it into 4 pieces. And I peeled the skin off because that's the traditional way to do it. But I'll be honest, a lot of the time I don't peel the skin because I'm either too lazy or I have a really disorganized kitchen, so I often lose the peeler. But today I have peeled it. So then what you need to do is just get a frying pan and put some vegetable, or you can use olive oil, but obviously if it's really high grade olive oil, it's not great for frying because it can burn. So some vegetable oil, and I've just got it on, I guess, like a medium heat, and I'm just going to fry this aubergine until it's golden like the rest of the other aubergine, and we'll be using that later. Now, in terms of the other steps that we need to do before we put the stew together, like I said, split peas are really important to this. Okay, your mum doesn't put it in, but a lot of people do. And I have found in the UK, there's different split peas you get really take a different time for cooking. So yellow split peas, do not confuse them with red split peas because those cook very, very quickly and they kind of turn into a dull. But yellow split peas you can get from any sort of big supermarket. Holland and Barrett have it. But in the sort of mainstream supermarkets or the health food stores, they are larger, so they will take longer to cook. So I would never add those straight to the stew. Now, I actually have some here today, which I got from a Persian supermarket. I'll just get the packet so you can see. So these are from Anjuman, but as I just found out earlier this week, Sous Chef UK is a shop online where you can buy these types of ingredients. So if you want to get these, and they just are a lot smaller than the ones you get in typical Western shops, they do cook a bit faster. You can add those straight to stews. I've seen people doing it. Having said that, I like it to be very soft. So I boiled these split peas for about 15 minutes and just drained them, and we'll be adding those to the stew as well. So that's another step you need to do either at the same time as frying the aubergines or beforehand. And then whilst that is happening, I'm just going to start the base. So in this pan, I've just started frying these onions when you were showing us the cocktail. It's just one onion that I've chopped very finely. And I'm going to slowly cook this until the onion's really soft. And then we'll be adding the spices and the rest of the ingredients soon. Sorry, that was a lot of information. If anything is too quick, let me know.
That's what everyone's here to watch. So now that we know what Jessica's up to, should we head over to Ali's kitchen?
Hello, sorry about that. I've just been in a whole different world because I never cook at home. So
what have you been up to?
I'm actually been lost. So while Jessica was talking and you were making this amazing cocktail, I just did a pretend Tahdig because for the dessert, I'm going to make something very different, which is a sweet Tahdig as a dessert. So here I just put some bread. I don't really care how the rice comes out, but well, where's the camera? Can you see? So I just boiled some rice, cook it as normal, as you make Tahdig. So I'm just gonna make a Tahdig, leave it to cool down. The best thing about this is when you have some leftover Tahdig at the end of the day, then what you can do is just use it as a dessert. So that's my rice cooking. That's why I was just a whole different world. Now I'm gonna make the starter, if that's okay. I'm gonna make a panna cotta.
I love panna cotta. It's one of my mum's favorite recipes. I've had that
I
growing
love
up.
as well.
So I'm
I like
so
creme
interested to see
brulee.
your version.
It's a very simple version, to be honest. So simple is sometimes is the best way. So what I'm going to use is milk, cream, gelatin, sugar. And I'm not going to use vanilla, I'm going to use cardamom. So it's going to bring the flavor of the Mediterranean. So what I'm going to do now is put this on milliliter. I'm going to pour 165 grams of cream. And I use a double cream, by the way. I bought some Tesco, advertising for Tesco, but any double cream is fine. And I'm going to use...
Could you use yogurt, or does it need to be cream, out of interest?
You can use yogurt, but I'm using cream.
Oh yeah, no, it's much richer.
Yeah, so you can make with cream. So for Ellen, we make with yogurt, cream, and milk. But here I'm using just the basic cream because it's home cooking, so you don't want to make it too complicated. So what I'll do is, I don't know, can you see the camera or is it missing? So 165 cream, 165 milk. I use gelatin sheets, so this is one sheet or half. What you do with gelatin sheets is you put it in cold water, let it soak for about 5 minutes, and then you add it to your boiling milk. So I'm just going to soak the gelatin now, leave it. Take this to the oven, hub. And we're just going to let it boil. This is my cardamom. I've crushed it. So basically, can you see?
Okay. Yeah.
So
could we use ground cardamom?
So it's no. Well, you're going to sieve it, but the ground one, as you sieve it, is going to go into the panna cotta. So it's ideally you just want to crush it. Yeah. So as you sieve, all the stuff will stay.
I love cardamom. It's so delicious.
Very nice.
That
it's
and cinnamon.
Very unique flavor.
And viewers, if you have any suggestions or variations as to how you make the dishes that you're seeing being made, please comment on the live stream. Let us know. Keep talking to us here. I'm reading your comments. I want to know where you guys are from, where you're tuning in from. Let us know if there's any variations you make. Please talk to us.
Okay. So, by the way, usually I have Agnes here, my partner, who's telling me what to do and where the spoons are. So I'm looking for, I'll just use a plate.
You're doing a great job. Don't worry.
I'm usually not allowed to be in the kitchen. Okay. So while that's boiling, watch it because, yeah. So you just want to raise the temperature. You don't want it to boil too much. You just heat it up. Very simple.
Yeah.
Just quick to show you.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. So we don't add the sugar yet. Is the sugar later on?
I'm going to add it now as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So with sugar, it's to your taste, but I'm adding 55 grams now. Yeah? So I've measured it before. Let's add a ton. Just 1 second. Okay, so now the sugar is going to melt with the cream, yeah? So basically, you're going to add sugar, cardamom, milk, and cream, and let it boil.
Nice. My
gelatin is ready now. So No, it's not ready yet.
So this is a really good dish that you could do when you've got people coming over, right? Like post quarantine, if you're doing a dinner party, because you can make it ahead of time.
It's very quick. You just need to. It takes a couple of hours to set, but it's a simple dish. So if you're stuck, if you have cream, milk at home, if you don't have cardamom, you can just add vanilla or any flavor.
What about
you want,
a cinnamon stick? You could add cinnamon, right?
You literally can add any flavor you want. All of them are nice. With panna cotta, I know it's a traditional dessert, but make it the way you like. Pick your favorite spice.
The way you've added the cardamom is space for anyone to add what they want to add, any variations that they can change it.
And basically I just want to do cardamom to bring some Mediterranean taste to it, or Persian taste to it. And it's quite nice. We actually use this a lot for all the canopies we do for parties when we do catering for Galleria or Butter. So it looks really nice. If you check the Instagram, you see some pictures of it. It's very light dessert, very popular, very easy.
Yeah, your restaurants cater for a lot of parties, don't they? So you're the pro, and I tasted your desserts, and they are, I can vouch for them, they're delicious. His desserts are fantastic.
It's because I love desserts myself, so.
The best eater is the best chef.
So I might be opening lots of drawers because I don't know where everything is. So let's just leave it. I'm not nervous.
So our audience, are you letting us know where you're from? Let me see your comments.
So now my cream's boiled, ready. I'm gonna add I'm actually gonna sieve it first, yeah?
Okay.
I'm gonna sieve it, and then I'm gonna add the gelatin. Oh, yeah, sorry. So just a basic, anything you want. Usually you sieve the panna cotta twice, okay?
Okay.
Turn the hob off. I usually use induction, so I always leave the hob on, and I get told off, why do you leave the hob on? Because induction goes off by itself.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Someone has asked me, do we get the written recipes or should we write notes? There are going to be recipes with the amount of what you need, but as for how they're cooking them, make sure you take notes.
Yeah.
And I believe the video will still be up after, so you should be able to watch it afterwards once they're done.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah, it will be saved.
And
feel
guys,
free just to message us.
Yeah, and everyone's Instagrams are open. You can message everyone. Also, guys, if you do make any of these foods, please share your pictures with us on Instagram at Tahdiglover and use the hashtag Tahdiglover Live Kitchen. We want to see everything you guys are making. We're really interested, so let us know.
Yeah,
okay, so now taking the water out of the gelatin, and I'm just gonna add the gelatin to the cream and mix.
Nice.
You could leave the cardamoms in there as well and just sieve it at the end when it cools down, so you get stronger flavor. Depends how strong you want the flavor, okay? So I've just done very subtle. But it's all up to you. So that's it. So now I just leave it to cool down, okay?
Okay, great. So, that's the problem. So you're going to leave it to cool, Ali?
Yeah, that's it. So I'll leave this to cool down. I'm going to wait for my Tahdig to be ready, and then we'll go back to Jessica, and we'll come back to me when I do the finishing for it.
Great. Jessica,
okay.
talk me through it.
Okay. Right, so the aubergines are now all golden. So this was two medium, well, one was a bit smaller, but two regular aubergines that I had fried. So those are good. I've just got them on a plate. And my onions are now softened. So it's like time to start assembling the stew essentially. And what I forgot to say is if you are conscious about trying to be a bit healthier, you could bake the aubergine in an oven instead of frying them. I would still add a bit of oil, but yeah, you could always bake them. Personally, I prefer to fry them because I like the flavor, but if you were trying to be healthier, you can bake them. So I'm just going to put the heat back on the onions because I turned that off. And I found through the feedback I get through my blog, there is a bit of, not controversy, but questions on whether you should add garlic to this stew. Now, because I'm not adding meat, I'm going to add garlic because I want to add some extra flavors. So I've got 2 cloves of garlic that I've chopped. And it's worth noting also, if you are going to add any meat, you would add them to the pan after you're adding the garlic to sort of brown them slightly. But obviously I'm not adding meat, so I'm just going to add the garlic. And just cook this for a couple of minutes until it's not brown. You want the onions to stay soft as well, but until the garlic's slightly translucent. And that will just take a minute or so. So in the meantime, I will talk you through the spices. Well, Arianna, do you ever put garlic in this, or do you not use garlic?
I'm not. So this is my mum's specialty dish. I'm not sure she does put garlic in it. I don't think she does, but I could be wrong. But I don't think she does. Also, where you put the lentil, the split pea, sorry, that I think kind of replaces the meat because it makes it a remet rather than just a khoresh.
Yeah.
Because normally, a lot of the time, obviously, with Iranian food, there are so many variations. You could remove meat, you could add fish instead, you could do so many things. So where you made it into a remet, if it was a normal khoresh bademjoon, it would just have the meat and the aubergines and the sauce. So I think that makes up for it. But I think garlic is a great thing to add. It's extra flavor. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. So actually, it's softening up pretty quickly. I guess I had the heat quite high, so I can add the rest of the ingredients. So
Jessica, my Tahdig is ready.
Okay, do you want to do that and then we'll come back to this?
No, it's ready. I'm just gonna flip it because my Tahdig is for dessert. So
yeah, flip it.
I'm just saying I'll be my Tahdig up first.
Oh. Well, we want to see the reveal.
Yeah, Ali, show us the reveal. Ooh.
So it's okay. I just made 2 little Tahdig because that's all I need.
Yeah.
So the whole point of this, as I said, was to, if you have any leftover Tahdig or something, have it later on as a dessert. Don't waste it.
In my
anyone
house, there's never any leftover.
I know, no
worries.
That's
so true. I don't think we've ever had Tahdig left over in our house. It's the first thing that goes when the table is set, is the Tahdig. Everyone has had it. But honestly, we can clearly see that Tahdig is so, like, you can put it in anything. Someone's making a dessert with it, someone's making a main course, and you can definitely make a starter with it.
Yeah.
So,
shall I quickly finish the spices and stuff? Or do you want to carry on, Valley?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the onions and the garlic are now both soft. So I'm going to add the spices. So very classic to Persian cooking is to obviously add some turmeric. So for this, I'm going to add a teaspoon of turmeric and just stir this into the onions. And then I'm also going to add cinnamon. Now, I understand that cinnamon is a bit controversial. Some people don't like it, but I've served this dish to people that say they hate cinnamon. They just don't mention the cinnamon in, and they don't realize they think it's delicious. I think it's important to add the cinnamon because it brings out flavor in the tomatoes. So I'm going to add about, I guess it's half a teaspoon of cinnamon, maybe 3/4. I'm not using like measurement spoons, just like a regular teaspoon. I'm just going to stir that. So that will do. So tomato paste is the next ingredient. I get through a lot, so I actually have the Iranian tomato paste that comes in big tubs, because obviously in the supermarkets here you can just get like a tiny squeezy bottle, and that just doesn't last long, right? I get through it so quickly.
Not in a house where you're cooking khoresh.
Yeah, I think because I mean in Persian cooking uses a lot more tomato paste than any other cuisine.
Yeah.
Especially also Lubi Apollo, get through so much of it when I make that. So I'm going to add quite a bit. So if you were measuring this, it would be about 4 tablespoons worth. And look, I've basically finished the jar in a couple of weeks. So that shows you how much I use. So it should be about 4 tablespoons worth. And just stir that in as well. I'm just going to wash my hands because I've got a bit of tomato on me. Right, so I'm going to turn the heat up slightly and just let the paste cook through. And then we're ready to do the very final assembly. So I think that will do. Right, so everything else we're going to add now. So boiling water. Again, I'm not going to measure this. I'm just going to eyeball it, but you'll want to use about 3 cups worth of boiling water, or just like recently boiled. It doesn't really matter. You're just going to heat it up anyway. Add that to the pan. And I'm going to turn the heat up slightly. And now I'm going to add the ingredients we prepared earlier. So it's coming to a slow simmer, this liquid. So I'm going to add these. And the split peas. So if you were to bake the aubergine, this actually would be a really healthy meal because the split peas have protein. You get, obviously you're getting 2 of your veg a day as well, I guess, if you care about those things.
And aubergines are so good for you. They have so many antioxidants. They're really good.
Exactly.
And split peas also have benefits.
So this is slowly coming to simmer now. I'm going to add, oh, I didn't mention this. So traditionally, you would use just tomato paste and water. I like to make it really tomatoey and rich. So I'm going to add about a cup of tomato passata. Absolutely not necessary, but I just like to do it. So I'm going to add some of this passata, which is really thick, actually. And I'm so glad that the shops have tomatoes again, because, you know, when this all started, it was all sold out.
Everyone was sold out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got a super modern variation of this game, I'd say. Not super modern, but quite modern.
I guess it's like my Western take on it, right?
I mean, why not?
It's the best way.
Everyone knows how to cook the straightforward version. We're here to learn new recipes.
Yeah.
It's so good.
This is now.
Oh, sorry.
The first time I tried this, the first time I tried this was at Jack, actually, in Soho, which is one of my favorite restaurants, and they serve it like this. And then they also do it, well, they did at the time, you could have it with short rib if you wanted meat, which also is a modern twist. And that's when it made me realize you can have it without meat and it can be a meal in its own. So that's boiling. We're nearly there. So another thing, you don't need to add saffron. I understand saffron's expensive, but I've already prepared some for the rice. So I'm going to add some saffron to this as well, just like a teaspoon or so. And then the key ingredient, which is dried limes. Now these can be a bit harder to find. I have seen these in Waitrose as well though, but you're going to get like 3 or 4 limes probably for £4 or £5. It's not cheap. These I'd recommend buying online or going to a Middle Eastern supermarket. It has a very distinct taste. If you've never tried dried limes before, I'd just add maybe 2. I'm going to add 4. And what you need to do is get a fork and make some holes in the lime before you add it and just pop it in. The sauce is spitting quite a bit. Good thing I'm not wearing white. Okay. Now I'm just going to season this with some salt and pepper because I haven't actually seasoned it yet. Large pinch of salt. Pepper's not really traditional, but I'm British, so I'm going to add some. And now we're just going to leave this to cook. So the aubergine's already fairly soft because they've been fried. How long you leave this for, it's up to you. Depends how soft you like it. I know some people like their aubergine really falling apart, where others prefer it a bit more solid. I think from this point onwards, you can leave this to simmer for 25 minutes. The longer, the better, I think, but you could eat this in 25 minutes. So I'm just going to leave that now that the limes are in. And we'll get back to that soon.
Ali, how are we doing on the halloumi pizza? What's going on? Talk us through.
I haven't started that because it's very quick. But what I just did, I just poured the mix of the panna cotta in 2 glasses. So the measurements I gave you is enough for 2 people, or 1 even, if you're me. But if you want to make more, feel free to double it. I just poured it in here. I'll leave it to cool down a little more. Then I'll put it in the fridge to set for 2-3 hours. And then I've made one before as well, so it's fine. Then I can do the sauce for you. Now I'm going to start with the halloumi pizza, as we call it. What we have here is 1 halloumi, which I grated earlier. Here's what I made earlier, as they say. And then we have some oatmeal, 40 grams. Yeah, this should be enough. And I use oatmeal, like I said, is gluten-free and it gives a nice texture to it. You can, if you want, add pine nuts. You can add, again, anything you want to this base as well. Treat it as a, usually me, I take 1 ingredient and I'll add all my favorite stuff into it. As Jessica said, she westernizes it. I do it my way because I'm never happy with what I get. So here I'm using 2 eggs because they're small. If you have 1 large egg, it should be enough. It's a very simple process. Add the oatmeal to the grated halloumi cheese. Let's mix it first.
That was so much quicker than I expected. I always thought that making a panna cotta would take much longer than that for some reason.
This is actually quicker than making a pizza base, trust me. And it's so much easier. And it's tasty. I don't know, do you like halloumi cheese?
Oh, halloumi cheese is like, it's my, I love halloumi cheese so much. And my mum's side of the family is Greek, so I've grown up eating it. And as a kid, I didn't really like it. And now I'm like, I wasted so much halloumi as a child and didn't eat it. It's my favorite cheese.
Make sure you try this after.
I'm going to, 100%.
Really, it's really nice. It's very addictive.
Have you ever tried this? I've just recently tried this cheese. It's like halloumi. It's another Greek cheese called Tahdig, but I'd say it's slightly softer. It's really good. I'd recommend trying that. That was by accident. Yeah, it's still salty. It's probably slightly less salty. But this was when I bought this by accident, kind of when there was no halloumi left on the shelves at the beginning of quarantine. But now I really like this cheese. It's good.
It was a lucky find then.
Yeah, it was really good.
Okay, so I didn't add any seasoning to this because halloumi is already salty and it's got all the flavors you need. So you really don't need anything more. Simple, 3 ingredients, healthy, almost. Okay, now you take the oven tray and do whatever size you like. I'm just gonna scoop.
Ali, how did you think of this recipe? Did it randomly just come to you one day? This halloumi pizza?
No, it's actually Agnes comes up with all these recipes. And then whenever she puts me on diet, she makes me these kind of stuff. And then I'll go outside and eat my junk food still. Or when she's not looking. Agnes, sorry, it does happen. So I'm just gonna make 3 right now. So the idea of alternative ingredients to gluten, bread and stuff is becoming more popular. So if you look online, you see so many different ingredients. Substitute for cakes, cheesecakes. Like someone told me to make him a gluten-free and dairy-free cheesecake. And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
There's gluten-free and dairy-free versions of practically everything now, which I think is great. Because there's so many vegan or lactose intolerant people.
Yeah.
It is, and it's becoming more popular. Just not all of them are as healthy as it sounds, because when you substitute, you have to substitute. Like I found out, like to substitute cheese for a carrot cake frosting, for example, they use cashew nuts. So imagine instead of eating 50 grams of cheese, you're eating about 100 grams of cashew nut, coconut oil, and all mixed together. So really,
it's I don't know.
It's
not low calorie.
No.
Oh, it
It's not
depends.
low
Is it
calorie,
good
but-
fat versus bad fat? I mean,
Exactly. But I love
maybe.
my Philadelphia, so I would never change.
Mm.
So that's all you do. Yeah. Can you see?
Lovely.
Yeah. And then you put it in the oven for literally about 6 minutes. I put my oven here on 180.
Okay.
But I'm gonna check it because I'm not used to this oven. So it's all play and game. So as we do this, we can make the sauce as well.
Mm-hmm.
The sauce is even simpler. You take a little shallot onion. If I find the chopping board. I can't find the chopping board. So I use this one.
Yeah, you need a little.
Really, it's very hard. When you used to, if you go to my parents' house, they don't even have food in their fridge because my mom's always in the restaurant cooking 24/7. So my parents' house fridge is like a brand new fridge. It's all empty. But everyone just hangs around Galleria all the time, all the friends and family.
Wait, does your mom cook at Galleria? She's the chef at Galleria.
My mom is there from 6, 7 in the morning until 1 a.m. 7 days a week for the past 24 years.
Crazy.
I used to live like just around the corner from there. I used to get it for takeaway all the time when I lived in Marylebone.
Yeah.
I just pick it up. Yeah, Jujay kebab was my favorite. I know you guys have amazing stews and other things as well, but I just love the Jujay from Galleria.
Thank
The
you.
location of Galleria is fantastic. It's right by where I went to school for secondary school and sixth form, and so is your new restaurant, Cotta. But I've tried Galleria's food, and again, fantastic. So
good.
Yeah, so the whole concept about Cotta I started was basically prove to my mom that Persian food can be changed slightly because my mom's very traditional. She has to have the food exactly the way it is. And like all the canopies we do, for example, in Galleria for catering, she used to tell me, no, you can't have canopies. The mizah has to be in a big dish. Cookie has to be like this. And I start playing around with all these little breads and stuff like this to see if I can serve Persian canopies to non-Persian people. And that's how all the canopies started from about 10 years ago. So slice the shallots, I put it in here. Little olive oil, just a tiny bit. And we just fry it.
Jessica, my mum is watching the live and she's commented, I also add cinnamon, but I don't add garlic. So there's
the answer.
Hi mum, the same thing you said about cinnamon, we always have this problem in our house because me and my dad are like, oh, don't add cinnamon to khoresh or whatever. And then we'll have dinner and she'll be like, by the way, there was cinnamon in that. Yeah. And we're like, me and my dad were looking at each other like, oh, it was actually quite nice. So we always have that debate.
I love it. If you wanted a more mild cinnamon taste, you could instead add like a piece of a cinnamon stick. I find that infuses it even more gently, but I'm half Danish, so I love cinnamon.
Yeah, cinnamon is fantastic. I used to always think, oh, it's only good for desserts, but watching my mom cook over the years and tasting her food has made me more knowledgeable, and I know that it goes well in most foods. It just, I don't know, it kind of brings out the flavor, it adds more flavor. It does do a good job.
Yeah, it definitely does. I love it. Brings like a warmth to the taste.
So the sauce which goes on top of the halloumi, again, is very healthy, very simple. All I do, I'll take some tomato. I'll take these baby cherry tomatoes, wash them. Take it out. And as soon as these onions are slightly fried, I put the tomatoes in here.
Yeah.
And I stab them.
You stab them?
I stab them so the juice goes into the Yeah.
See, like the more British person in me, I'd be like, I gently crush them. I like how you just say
I stab them.
I stab them. I
This
might
is stabbing,
stab
no? You're not crushing them. Oh, can you see this?
Okay.
I don't know if this camera is working or not. Tell me if you can see it or not. Can you? Or should I go to the other camera?
Come to this camera. Come to this camera.
Yeah. So basically, I'm just stabbing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the juice goes starts cooking. The tomato gets soft and starts. Then it becomes crushed anyway, Jessica. So it comes back to your point. But we just. Okay. So I'll leave this here. Let it cook for a little. If you want to add any seasoning, feel free. But I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of salt, very little. And I'm gonna add pepper.
Guys, I'm so hungry watching you guys right now.
Yeah. How's the cocktail? Have you finished it yet?
I finished it quite a while ago.
Oh,
I wish I had some cocktail.
I wish you guys were drinking this with me, and I wish I was eating your food as well when we're finished. But after Corona, hopefully, we can do more with Tahdiglover. We're going to expand and do better things. But right now, for the time being, this is how it is.
Yeah, I'll just enjoy my water in the meantime.
Next time, I promise, cocktails for everyone when this is over, when Corona's out of the window.
What's your favourite dish, Arianna?
Oh, Iranian food. My khoresh Bademjoon is definitely in my top 3. So
yeah.
That, but I love warma sabzi. We had that for dinner last night.
Did you make it?
Sorry?
Did you make the gourmet sabzi or was it your
mom made it? I cook a lot, but unfortunately, I don't cook that much Iranian food. And I think it's because my mum cooks it so well.
Yeah.
And like, it's a risky area to dip into, I feel. But I'm going to learn more Iranian dishes.
It's the same as me. I don't really cook. I just like tasting because I know what everything should taste of. But if they tell me to cook, I'll cook. But usually I'm too busy to cook, so I just go at the end and taste all the food, and if it tastes right or not. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of water to the sauce. Yeah. So let it boil.
Although having said that about the warma sabzi, I did make noon taftoon last night, which is so easy to make. But
yeah, I
so
saw that. It looks so good. I haven't made taftoon before. I've made Barbary, sangak, lavash, but not taftoon. I have to try that one. I saw you posted the recipe, right? So if I go on your Instagram.
I saw your Barbary on your Instagram. So you made that one?
Yeah, I've made Barbary a few times.
I'm very impressed. That's my favorite bread.
I love it. Yeah, definitely. Maybe I should start a delivery.
Yeah.
I love Barbary. So good.
As your khoresh Bademjoon.
It's good. I added a bit more water because it was a little bit too thick, but the aubergine's going very soft. I think it's nearly done. Actually, so I'm gonna go through how to make rice, but I put a Tahdig based rice on before we started, and I think it's ready. So I'm gonna flip it, and then I'll go through how to do it. Okay.
Can I just interrupt? I forgot to add the basil to my tomato sauce.
Okay.
Yeah.
And could you add parsley if you didn't have basil?
Pardon?
If you didn't have basil, could you add parsley?
If you like parsley, I just like the flavor of basil in it. Again,
yeah, it's
I'm very pizza day. It's my favorite food, so I've got these scissors that chops.
Okay. Right, I'm gonna flip it. Okay.
The big moment reveal of Tahdig.
I know. So I'm not at my usual flat with my normal pan, so it's always a risk.
I believe in you, Jessica. You can do this. I believe in you.
Oh yay! Okay. This is a small one because I'm making 2.
Very nice color.
But,
so cute and small.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. But I'll go through in a minute when we're finished with Ali.
Perfect golden color.
Yes. Now, obviously, you would probably fill the pot up more. but because so it'd be like thicker in terms of rice, but because I'm making 2 loads of rice, I've done small tahdigs. But yeah, that's
Rice.
here's one I did earlier. Yeah.
The best way.
Right, Ali, where are you at now?
I'm just about to call delivery to order the foods I'm making, just in case they don't come out now. Okay, so our tomato sauce is boiling away. I'll leave that to boil. Now we've done the halloumi base. Check it. Still not ready. So it wasn't 5 minutes. In a big oven, it's 5 minutes. This one probably about 12 minutes. And now what we can do is the syrup for the panna cotta. Yeah. Before I do that, I'm gonna put these 2 panna cottas now it's cooled down in the fridge to set. Don't put it too hot in the fridge because it's gonna drop the temperature of your fridge and then you're gonna ruin all your other ingredients in the fridge. Okay. So the syrup we're making is a rose water flavor. So it's basically sugar and rose water. We make syrup, we syrup it, and we pour it on top of the panna cotta. And what I usually do, just take some grapefruit segments and just put it on top. If you want, put a little pomegranate, and your panna cotta is done. So
Yum.
it's very simple. The difficult job today is with Jessica, the khoresh Bademjoon. I'm just doing the fun stuff. And for the pizza topping, again, you got your tomato sauce. Now, I bought some of these bell chilies, and I'm just gonna chop some, and I bought some colored tomatoes because we're having a starter salady kind of thing, not a pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna make any mushroom, but if you're having a mushroom pizza, put all your favorite toppings on it. What's your favorite topping?
Ooh, chili.
Chili?
I like chilies. Not authentic, but I just like a margarita with fresh chilies on top.
Ooh.
Or chili oil. I love spicy food.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so we have 15 minutes till we need to wrap up. Jessica, where are you at? How long has your khoresh got left?
So to be honest, it's pretty soft. You could eat it now, but like I said, I like it to be a bit more, I don't know what the word would be, matured maybe, softer, more of the flavors infusing.
Yes.
So I'm going to leave that just to continue simmering low. And now I'm going to talk you through how I made that rice. And just so you know, I wouldn't recommend like making tahdig ahead of a meal because it does lose its crispiness enough, like a bit. But I'm going to obviously eat this food when we finish recording. So what I've done is I've actually, after I tipped it onto the plate, I put the rice back into, I put the plate back and tipped it back in. So I'm going to reheat the bottom and get it crispy and hot again. And it will stay quite warm for later on. But I'll show you now how I make it. So I'm going to try not to bore you guys too much, but there is a little bit of an art when it comes to making tahdig. Everyone has different methods. I'm going to talk you through my like most basic way. Firstly, the rice. So I first started making tahdig with basmati rice, and that's actually a really easy rice to make it with. I guess ideally you'd want to use Persian rice, but that's not always so easy to get. Today I've used Kamran, which I think maybe it's from India. I'm not sure where Kamran rice is, or maybe it's from Afghanistan. I need to check. And you need to soak the rice. So ideally a couple of hours or overnight is the best. And I'm just going to show you on the spoon. I don't know if it'll work, or maybe not. But basically, I'll put it on my hand. Maybe that'll work. I want to show you the difference in the size from when you soak the rice. So soaking the rice really helps you. Is this working? Can you see, or is the reflection?
I can see. I think no, we can see. We can see. I
so
think.
One is like nearly double the length, basically, and that is the rice that I soaked overnight. And you could make a tahdig straight away, but the rice just won't be as nice. You want it to be long grain. That's kind of what you expect when you get some Persian steamed rice. That it's like nice, long, big grains. So that is what I did overnight. Okay, so then you need to rinse the rice. Now, before you soak it, ideally, rinse it a few times till the water's clear, let it soak. The next day you get your rice, and you might want to rinse it again once or twice just to make sure there's no more starch, and this will help your rice be really fluffy. So you do that. So that's the preparation, and then from that point onwards, it's quite easy. So there's 2 steps to making the tahdig. The first step is to half cook the rice. So I boil the rice. With the Kamran rice, it's slightly larger, I would part boil that for 7 minutes. Basmati rice, you could probably use about 5 minutes. Basically, the grains will become longer. It's half cooked, and that's when you're gonna put it back in the pot. So I'm just gonna show you here. This rice is long, it's very long. This has been part cooked for 7 minutes. So you part cook the rice in just a pot, fill it with water, boil it, part cook it for 7 minutes, and a pinch of salt, strain it, and that's what we have here. So the step 2, you need a non-stick pan. I've heard, like, people do say you could use parchment paper on a regular pan. I tried that when I first started, it didn't work. Maybe it works for some people, but if you really want to try and get it to come out nice and golden and clean, get a non-stick pan. For some reason,
Can I just interrupt you, Jessica?
Yeah, go for it.
It all depends what paper you use. Not all papers work. Yeah, it does work, but it's lots of different qualities on paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what brands or like?
I don't know, because I buy it from wholesalers. I don't know the supermarket one. I'll find out what's good. But
yeah, no, let me know, because that would really help. So I personally at home use it. Okay, so it does work. Okay, well for me it didn't work. Let's find out what paper we should use, and then you can do that instead of buying a new pan. But what I was going to say is, from my experience, strangely, the cheaper the non-stick pan, the better it works. I don't know the science behind it, but that's what I found. So non-stick pan with a lid, which I've got somewhere over there. And the next important thing is the saffron. You need saffron to put on the rice to make it, I mean, it's going to be golden from going crispy, but obviously saffron's what makes it that lovely color. So I use Iranian saffron that someone kindly brings me back from Iran. You could buy this from Middle Eastern supermarkets. You can buy it online. Most big supermarkets do stock it, but it's going to be really expensive for a few strands. So I wouldn't recommend buying it from, like, you know, Sainsbury's or Waitrose, just because you're not going to get very much for your money. And then in terms of brewing the saffron, which is what it's called when you add a liquid to it to make it a golden liquid, essentially. In a pestle and mortar, I ground the saffron very, very finely with a pinch of sugar to help get it going. And then at that point, you can either add an ice cube or a tablespoon or so of boiling water. Now, different people say different things work better. I used to only use boiling water, but I've started doing ice cube recently. And basically it will melt and you're left with this golden liquid.
Iranian
what do you use?
Iranian rice is not Iranian rice without saffron, I think, personally. And also what you said about buying it from Waitrose or Sainsbury's, I generally think if you are making an Iranian dish, it is much easier to just go to a Middle Eastern supermarket, because everything's there and it's at a more reasonable price.
I mean, this whole thing is full. When you go to supermarket, you just get a few strands.
Yeah, you're kind of paying yourself if you get them from supermarkets. Obviously, you don't have a Middle Eastern shop nearby. It's different. And Jessica, you make so many delicious looking Iranian meals, and you talk to us every day on your Instagram. So how did you get into cooking Iranian meals? Because as you said, you're not Iranian.
No, so yeah, I'm half Danish, half British, and I guess my like cultural, culinary sort of curiosity came about really when I moved to London 8 years ago. But so previously I grew up in a really small town, lovely town, in the countryside, and in terms of like interesting, or I don't like to use the word exotic, but, you know, different to British food restaurants, there was only Indian restaurants in my town, and there was a fantastic Indian restaurant. So my first like love affair with food started with Indian food. And obviously there's a few overlaps between that and the Persian food. Then I moved to London, and that was when I was just like, wow. Like, I went to the London School of Economics, so that's really, really multicultural anyway. But London itself, as you guys know, everyone you meet is from all over the world, and even if they say they're from the UK, they'll have people from all over the place in their family. So it's such a diverse place, which I love. And that's how it started. And then I just found that, I mean, a lot of my friends and people that are very close to me are from all sorts of different cultures. So I cook a lot of Persian food, but I also cook some North African food, some Lebanese, Syrian foods. But Persian, probably I cook the most as well because I like the taste. Obviously, I gravitate towards that.
Persian food is slightly underrated. I think a lot of people know about it, but I do also feel like it's not like it. People are a bit more unlikely to go to a Persian restaurant rather than like an Indian or a Chinese because it's more what they're used to. But with shows like these, hopefully we can teach people more about. And Iranian rice, I believe, is like saffron rice with tahdig is the best form of rice. And rice can be so disastrous. The first time I tried to cook rice was a good few years ago, and I don't even want to talk about how it turned out because I didn't ask my mum how to make it. I just went ahead and I tried to make rice, and it has an art. It definitely has an art to it.
Well, hopefully this method my method's quite simplified, so it should work. Okay, so.
Okay, we got an oven. Halloumi base is ready.
Can you see?
Should I carry on with the rice afterwards? Yeah.
I'll just be very quick. I'll just show you.
No, go for
it. So
it.
he's got. Can you see it?
It looks lovely.
Yeah. So right now it's all puffed up, but it's gonna sink. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just let it cool down a little, just for a few seconds, and you can. I'll leave it here. And my tomato sauce is ready.
Can you ask the comment about?
What happened?
I don't know.
I'm asking, were your lentils pre-boiled?
Yes, I did.
Sorry?
So the lentils, I did cook them for about 15 minutes beforehand. It does depend on the brand again. So what I would do is boil it, and then after 10 minutes, try them. And you want them to be soft, but still slightly al dente because we obviously are cooking them in the stew. So yeah, cook them and then drain them.
And someone has said that. What they said? They said that yellow split peas don't normally cook if tomato puree is added. Do you have any suggestions on how they can work around that?
But that's why you cook them beforehand.
Okay.
So that's why I boiled them beforehand. But I have seen some people say you can add them straight away. I've never done it because I'm always so worried that what if I do add them, the aubergine's super soft and then the split peas are hard. So that's why I always cook them first.
One of our viewers has asked, can you mix saffron with turmeric, or do you think it's overkill? What's your opinion on that?
I mix them in the stew. I would mix them, and also, for example, when people make zeresh polo bamor, they usually will use turmeric to begin with in order to marinate and season the chicken when they cook it. But ultimately, you add saffron to that and to the rice. So in that dish, you're having both saffron and turmeric as well. But if you don't want to add both, or if you don't have both, that's when you can obviously just use one or the other. I guess it's up to preference. I have actually seen someone make a tahdig with turmeric once because they had no saffron. So you could also try that. But ultimately, although they both look very similar in terms of they bring a golden color, their taste is completely different.
Yeah,
so it's actually hard to compare them really because turmeric's a root. It's not really similar. It's not a spice.
So Ali, where are you at now? What's going on?
Okay, so I'm just gonna decorate my halloumi starter. Yeah. So I'm gonna cut one out, just so you see. It actually feels like a pizza dough. Yeah. And I'm actually gonna eat one.
Ooh.
Oh, it's hot.
Good.
It really tastes like a pizza though. It doesn't taste like halloumi at all. So it's like as if you're eating bread. Yeah. So here's my tomato. So it was shallot, onion, tomato, basil, olive oil. I added little seasoning. Just dump it on top. Very basic.
Did you add oregano to that, Ali?
No, it's the basil. But you can. But I controlled myself today because I usually add oregano to everything.
Is my favorite thing to add to those kind of foods. I love oregano.
I just chopped some mozzarella, fresh mozzarella cheese. Yeah, messy look. So the whole point is to be messy. Yeah.
Jessica, someone said that they discovered years ago that Qamran is the best rice for cooking Persian food. That's what one of our viewers has said. So,
oh, good. But I have a massive bag of it. So
yeah, they come in huge bags.
Yeah. That's one other thing I would say is I buy my rice in bulk, and I recommend that other people do as well, because you're going to get through a lot if you're going to try and discover Persian food, and a small bag is just going to last you like 3 meals max.
So Ali, what are you adding now?
So I'm adding, I just chopped my little tomatoes I have. I bought the color ones because it's colorful, very summery. Yeah. And if you want, again, because there's very little seasoning, just grind some pepper onto it. And I've got a little truffle olive oil. I just like the taste of it.
Lovely.
Nice.
You can't go wrong.
If you don't, you can just use a normal olive oil.
So my mum's just come into the kitchen and told me to show you guys how Qamran rice that we also have in our kitchen.
I got the same. Wait.
These are what the bags are like. Apparently we use this rice as well in our house, but I think most Iranian households or households that cook loads of Iranian food that you go to will have a big bag of rice, no matter what brand it is. They will have a big bag of rice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
And here's my halloumi.
Oh, that looks delicious.
Wow, it looks so good.
So it's not so much of a pizza, but I call it a pizza. You can put this in the oven again, if you want, or when it's half baked, put it in the oven with all the pizza toppings, and you get this. You get a pizza, I mean. But would you like to have this as a starter? It's very fresh.
Yeah, I'd love
What do you recommend putting on it, Ali? Like, what other variations could you maybe if you were having it as a main course, or would you keep it like that?
So as a main course, as I said, this really just feels like a pizza base. Yeah, like it feels like a bread. So go with your favorite pizza toppings, but try it. Try it as a base. It's really nice.
Our viewers, if you have any variations you would make, let us know what kind of toppings you would add.
Me, I love pepperoni. I love mushroom. I like pepper, sweet pepper.
Parmesan maybe.
Pardon?
Parmesan maybe.
Yeah. I actually bought some rocket as well. So
yeah, rocket is perfect.
So you can put rocket. Just treat it as a pizza. Go with your favorites. Ham and pineapple. Yeah.
Lovely.
So that's to the side,
ham and pineapple is very controversial though.
It's such a controversial topping. Constantly people argue. Do you guys like ham and pineapple on pizza, or Hawaiian pizza? Do you like it?
I mean, I might eat it, but it's not what I would order.
I feel like my brain always just tells me don't. Do you know what? Like, I don't know. I don't actually hate it, but I feel like, why? To a degree. So, Jessica, where are you at now with everything?
Okay, so back to rice school. Okay, so you will have your rice, like I said, half boiled. So for 7 minutes if you're using Qamran rice, basmati probably 5 minutes, and then drain it. So I did this earlier before we started. So you want to drain the rice in a sieve with cold tap water. So you want to stop the cooking process completely so that the rice is cold. And I drained it, and that's what I have in this container right now. So now we're ready to assemble it. So as you know, I was saying how important it is to have the right, good saffron. So now we could start making it. So this isn't a healthy recipe. I'm not going to pretend it is. And if you want to do it with less oil, it's just not going to be good. So you need 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Now, if you're a vegan, you could do just vegetable oil. But if you're not vegan, definitely try using butter because it tastes amazing. So I'm just adding this to my non-stick pan. Put the butter in, and now I'm going to add the vegetable oil. So 2 tablespoons of each. And then you want to have it on a medium heat. So I'm using a gas hob today, but if I'm using an electric, my electric hob is from 1 to 9. So I would put it on probably 6. You want to start with it fairly medium-high heat, just to start the process. Actually, I want to speed it up. So I'm going to turn it up just to melt the butter. And that would just take a minute or so. And also, like I said, people have different methods. So if you wanted to ensure you wanted a very thick tahdig, some people like to mix the rice with some yogurt and saffron. I actually add the rice just as it is. And maybe in another one of these episodes next week, or a week after, someone can show how they do it with yogurt, but personally I don't. So the butter is pretty much melted. I'm just swirling it around the pan. I like to get it a bit around the edges. It is quite a lot of, I'm trying to show you guys, it's quite a lot of oil and butter. Like, I'm not pretending, like I said, that it's healthy, but if you want it to be crispy and delicious, you have to do this. Otherwise, just do steam rice. If you don't want the tahdig and you want to be healthy, I wouldn't bother. So that's done. Now the saffron. So I'm going to add a few spoonfuls of the saffron water, and my hob is still on a medium heat. So yeah, about halfway across on this. And if it was a electric hob, whatever number it is, halfway. So you can hear it sizzling, nice and golden. And now we add the rice. So keeping it, like I said, medium heat. You don't turn it down to low yet. Add the rice. Now the rice has been drained, so there shouldn't be any liquid really. It'll be slightly moist, and that's just perfect. And just carefully add it into the pan. Now, because we have a thick layer of the fats or the oils at the bottom, and that's mixed with saffron, that will mix with the first layer of rice that goes in, and that is what makes the tahdig. So now we're starting to get, you can hear it sizzling, and all the rice is in. So I'm going to make a few holes in the back of the spoon. Okay. This will help the steam come out of the rice, and it makes it cook evenly and be very fluffy. I mean, this is a big pan, so I've put 6 holes in. You could put 4. Yeah. And keeping it, you can hear it sizzling. That's good. I'm now going to add, this is optional again, but it does make it taste good, a few tiny knobs of butter, just kind of where the holes were. And this will just, make it very buttery and delicious. Yeah, buttery rice is the best. Yeah, I mean, you could not do this if you didn't want it, but I feel like if you're going to go for tahdig rice, just go all out. Otherwise,
it's go hard or go home, I feel. If not, like you said, it's better to just make steamed rice, because if you're going to make tahdig, it's not going to be healthy. Right, so you're going to let that sit for a while now, Jessica?
Yeah, so you want this to be about 5 minutes on medium heat. And I've got a bit of the saffron water left, so I'm just going to pour that over the rice. And because it had been sitting a while, the rice that I'd cooked, it's not quite as wet as I'd want it. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of boiling water. Right. And we want a little bit of steam to start coming up. Now, once you start seeing a little bit of steam coming up, that is when we turn the heat down to low. So on my cooker at home, it'd be around 3. On this one, I'm just going to put it on the lowest setting because it's quite a strong cooker. And then we cover it with a lid. So actually, I can see a little bit of steam coming off this. So I think we can just cover it. Fine.
Jessica, someone's asked, for the khoresh, could you use fresh limes rather than dry limes?
Yes, you can. I wouldn't recommend putting them in the stew though. Instead, nearer the end of the cooking time, like the last 10 minutes, squeeze 1 to 2 limes.
Okay.
All right, so now I have put a tea towel around the lid, and this will help have a vacuum to keep the steam in. I'm going to cover the rice nice and tight, and I'm putting it down to the lowest setting. Now this will take about 35 minutes, give or take. When you check it, you want to see that the rice will be cooked. And to make sure to see if the tahdig's formed properly and the rice isn't stuck, because you're using a non-stick pan, what I find is you can, when you take the lid off, shake it a little bit, and you'll see the whole rice is moving slightly, and that's when you know it's formed properly and that you have a tahdig. The first time you make this, I think it's better to be more safe than risk burning it. So I would definitely put it on the very lowest heat. And as you become more practiced in making it, you can maybe turn the heat up slightly more to get a more crispy tahdig. But as you see, it's not like a very prescribed recipe. You can do it to fit any pot. For this, I didn't mention this actually. For this, I've used 2 cups of rice. If you were to use a bigger pot, you obviously would use maybe 3 cups of rice and increase the amount of oil and butter in order to, coat the bottom of the pan.
And
but there's no grams that you don't need to measure it exactly.
A cup per person? Is that how you do your measurements?
No, because when you soak the rice, it really gets very big. So I would probably say 2 cups, I think, could serve 4 people. Depends how hungry you are, though.
So Ali, what's going on in your kitchen now? What's happening?
I'm going to do two things at once. I've taken my tahdig. Can you see? I'm just crushing it. This is your leftover tahdig when everyone was full up and they couldn't finish it off. Yeah. So I'm just going to put the tahdig here. I don't have a nicer dish, sorry.
All about the taste.
Yeah. So, again, the presentation is very important as well. I got this idea from a friend of mine who's my colleague at LM, and he's a food. I forgot what he does. Sorry, Dad. No, he's the head of food at LM. So basically, I took him to Botte, and he saw tahdig, and he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "It's tahdig." He's like, "What? What is tahdig?" And I'm like, "Tahdig is a crispy rice at the bottom of the pan." And he's like, "The whole world chucks this in a bin, and you guys eat it?" I said, "We don't eat it. We fight for it."
We fight. We honestly fight.
Yeah.
So he's like, "So how do you eat it?" So I brought tahdig, and I put khoresh fesenjoon on one, and I put korma sabzi ghaim on one, and I brought the plain one. And he's like, "This is a great idea for a dessert." And I'm like, no, sorry, tahdig is not for dessert. He's like, "Why? People eat baklava." And I'm like, "True." And he goes, "This is like bread for baklava." So he's like, "Can I go in your kitchen and make one?" And I was like, "Okay." So he went in our kitchen, all excited, and he came back with basically what I'm making now. So he took tahdig and he put some honey onto it, yeah, to make it sweeter. And then very simple, it's a simple dish, yeah. I mix some yogurt, Greek yogurt, with a tiny bit of cream, and I put little vanilla sugar. Jessica probably knows this. This is a Swedish vanilla sugar. I bought it from the Swedish shop in Melbourne. Yeah. So we just put a little of this. Again, sprinkle some pistachios. Yeah. Sprinkle some pomegranate.
Lovely.
Once. Again, in a nicer dish is the nicer presentation. And that's it. You can add a tiny bit of rose water to bring a baklava flavor to it.
Delicious.
If you like.
Tahdig is so, like, you can do so much with it. I remember my friends used to come to my house, my English friends, they'd be like, "Where's the crispy rice your mum makes? Like, we've never had that before. Is she making it today?" Like, everyone loves tahdig when they try it.
So basically, you take your tahdig now, you dip it into the yogurt and try it.
Go and try it. Let us know how it tastes.
It's very nice. Trust me. You will not think, but it's nice. It's like a sweet baklava. Depends how much. You can use maple syrup, you can use honey, you can use anything you want. But again, the presentation is not very good. Sorry, I'm not the best. I'll leave the presentation to Jessica.
Don't be silly.
Jessica's presentation is fantastic. If you head over to her Instagram, you can see that.
That's what I would actually, in case I've missed out any steps or we don't get to answer any questions, I have got a video step by step for both the stew and the tahdig on my Instagram. In case, if you haven't managed to make notes or if you want to check anything, I'll have it on there. It's in my IGTV.
So, I believe we've made everything. I don't think there's anything left to show, is there, guys?
I just want to quickly show one thing.
Yes, Jessica, go ahead.
So the stew is done. The rice will be done soon. So I'm going to just keep this on a low simmer. If you want to serve this as a full meal, which I guess you do, I like to have it with a salad shirazi and a yogurt. So for the yogurt, I'm going to do, again, I'm really sorry for my pronunciation, masto khiyar, or is that how you say it? With the cucumber yogurt.
You said it well.
Exactly. You can teach me. So just for that, I've just got some chopped yogurt, and then I'm chopped cucumber, and I'm gonna add some Greek yogurt. You could use fat-free, but I think as you've realized with my cooking, I don't tend to use fat-free. So I've got 2%. It's a bit creamier. I'm just gonna mix this in together. And although this is really an appetizer, it is delicious to have some sort of yogurt-based dip nearby on the table when you're having the stew. And you can obviously have some bread with it as well. So simple. You just mix it in. It's a bit like tzatziki. And I'm just going to add the most iconic ingredient to this is the dried mint, which you can get from most shops. Going to add a big pinch of dried mint and a pinch of salt. And then that's that dip done. And then one more thing I like to have with it, like I said, is the salad shirazi. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now because I know I've been talking a lot. But just a few tips. The idea is you want to have salad shirazi, if you're not aware, and I'm sure most people are, is tomatoes, cucumbers, and red onions that are chopped, and you'd mix it together to make a salad. And in theory, you're meant to have equal amounts of all three ingredients. I tend to do a bit less red onion because I find it maybe a little bit aggressive.
Yeah.
And you can just dress this with some lemon and lime juice, a tiny bit of olive oil, salt, and dried mint as well is pretty important. That makes the sort of iconic taste. But what I've started doing recently is, after trying it actually at Berenjack in Soho, they add sumac to their shirazi. And I don't know if that's traditional or not, but I love it. And it's obviously
very
like
nice.
citrusy.
I always add it
Oh,
to the
there we
tasting
go.
ones. It just brings a
Yeah.
very nice flavor to it.
That's
I'm
I
actually
recommend
addicted to
doing
it.
that.
It's my favorite salad. The only way my mom could make me eat salad when I was younger was making me salad shirazi. So,
I'm just
Can
going
I
to
just
quickly
finish
show the
up the
stew.
panna cotta?
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
so
please finish up the panna cotta.
So basically, I'll go very quickly. I just took a quarter of the spoon rose water, and I just put 30 grams of sugar in a pan, let it boil. I took a drop of red color, so I've used a powder one, mixed it with water, but you can just use any liquid. So basically, you get a little pink syrup, yeah, just to show that it's rose water. You pour it on top, yeah. Yeah, so after a while, the syrup will sink into the corners of the panna cotta as well. And then what you do is, now, I'm just going to put a segment of grapefruit because it just has a citrusy, fresh taste into it. And also a little pistachio decoration. Now, what you could also do, you could put roast the pistachios with sugar and salt, put it in the oven for a couple of minutes, and you get a salty, sweet pistachio. So it's a very nice taste. So here's our panna cotta. Can you see?
Yes. Wow, that looks delicious.
Yeah, and it looks really nice. When the syrup goes round, it all becomes pink and it's gorgeous. Maybe it will float when you're making your khoresh, finish your khoresh. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you it. So this is, okay, it's not the most beautiful of dishes. I'm just going to show you. See how this aubergine is really, really soft? This is when it's basically done. Now, if you're serving this to people that aren't maybe used to having a lot of Persian food, take out the dried limes because I don't like biting into them. I do know one person that likes to eat the dried limes, but it's like having preserved lemon in a tagine. Yeah, it's although it adds an amazing flavor to the stew, I would take them out because someone who doesn't know might just think, oh, well,
sometimes you can accidentally bite in and think it's meat. I do that sometimes with the warm salad. I'll bite it and I'm
exactly.
like, oh, no, it's dry lime.
And what you can do is you can garnish this with some fried potato, or sometimes what I do is I will chop up some potato into like chips and just roast them in the oven in some olive oil. And that's also an amazing way to garnish the dish and adds another carbohydrate.
Yeah, Baima's traditionally got chips on it. I think normally they're fried, but of course you're being much healthier with the olive oil and baking them in the oven.
I've already added fat everywhere else.
The one place you're trying to preserve.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jessica, regarding the dry lime, for a non-Iranian, if they find it hard to find, if you go to Waitrose, you know the Belazou tin, the brand?
Yeah.
They have these limes in a jar. Have you seen them?
Oh, really? No, I haven't seen them. I have actually seen dried limes there though, in a big one. But I've never seen the Belazou one.
But this is a fresh one. So if you put it in your khoresh, it gives the same flavor.
Yeah.
But you can actually eat it.
So is it like a preserved lemon kind of?
Yeah, it's preserved lemon. Yeah. Try it.
Oh wow,
once.
I've never seen that. Yeah, I'll definitely try that. Yeah. Well, there you go.
This is for a non-Iranian, in case they bite into a dry lime and complain.
So I think we're all done here. I think everyone's made their food and you've made us all very hungry. So we all hope that you've enjoyed this live session. Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you so much, Ali, for sharing your recipes with us. I've really enjoyed watching you guys and getting loads of tips. I hope our audience have enjoyed as well. Please fill out the form which is under our video. We hope to do loads of these lives again. If you're interested in participating and you love cooking, please contact us at Tahdiglover on Instagram. Also, if you've cooked any food that we've showed you how to make today, please take a photo, share it on Instagram. We'd love to see what you've made. Thank you so much for watching, guys.
I think this is a little
we
better.
hope that you enjoyed, and we hope that you make this food. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for hosting.
Nice
Bye.
cooking with you, Jessica. And
Yes,
Arianna.
you too, Ali. See you guys
Bye-bye.
soon. Bye.
See you. Bye.